Breaking news! The Miami Dolphins made a bold move during the second round of the 2025 NFL Draft, trading up to select offensive lineman Tua Tagovailoa from Arizona. And let me tell you, Dolphins fans, the situation behind the scenes is heating up, and I have a lot to unpack with you. We all know the Dolphins are chasing that elusive Super Bowl appearance, and for that to happen, Mike McDaniel needs a strong, reliable roster. Unfortunately, we're still stuck with Grier calling the shots, a GM who frankly should have been fired a long time ago, but here we are. Already, there's controversy brewing over whether this aggressive trade-up move was the right call. I'll break it all down, but before I dive deeper, make sure you smash that like button, but only if you're a real Miami Dolphins fan. If you've been riding with the Fins for over 20 years, even better, drop a comment saying, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds aqua and orange. Now let's get into it. Miami wasn't supposed to pick that early in the second round. They traded pick 48, pick 98, our only third rounder, and pick 135, our second fourth round pick, to the Las Vegas Raiders just to move up to pick 37 and snag a fifth rounder in return. In simple terms, Miami lost valuable assets, including a third round pick, to ensure they could land Tua Tagovailoa. As it stands now, we have no third round pick, only one fourth rounder, and 3 fifth round picks remaining. It's a gamble, and it's the kind of gamble that Dolphins fans have seen blow up before thanks to questionable front office decisions. Focusing on Tagovailoa himself, he's a versatile lineman who played tackle at Arizona but will shift to guard in the NFL, which fits Miami's needs perfectly. He was the 5th-ranked guard and 66th overall player on the big board, and despite that, Miami viewed him as essential enough to pay a premium. Tagovailoa possesses good foot speed that should mesh well with the wide zone scheme McDaniel employs. His strength lies in run blocking, something Miami desperately needs to finally open up the ground game and keep Tua Tagovailoa upright. Let's talk offensive line setup now because it's starting to look more defined. New addition James Daniels, known for his run-blocking skills with Pittsburgh before his injury, Aaron Brewer, and Austin Jackson, they're locking in the edges and inside lanes. The real question is whether Tagovailoa will play left or right guard, as the team could shuffle him and Daniels around depending on what fits best. Either way, this move signals a commitment to finally fixing the trenches, something fans and analysts have been screaming for over the past few seasons. But here's where the controversy explodes. Miami passed up on multiple high-value cornerbacks when they made this trade. Carson Switzer, Jane Higgins, Nick Evan War, and Kashin Junction were all snapped up early in the second round. Even more frustrating, after the Dolphins picked Tagovailoa, standout names like Tavon Henderson, Luther Burden, and Tyler Shuck went off the board, players who could have had major day-one impacts. Many fans thought the Dolphins would use their pick on a corner, especially with glaring needs in the secondary. Instead, they prioritized guard. It's the kind of head-scratcher decision-making that drives fans crazy and further fuels the anti-Grier sentiment within the fan base. And speaking of Tagovailoa's profile, according to Dane Brugler of The Athletic, Tagovailoa has the length and movement skills to stick at tackle, but his aggressive play style suits him better at guard. During his college career, he gave up just 9 hurries, allowed 4 sacks, and had only 1 penalty, not bad numbers, although not elite either. He recorded a 64.2 run-blocking grade and shifted around the line with 16 starts at right tackle, 15 at right guard, and 5 at left tackle. Flexibility is a strong point for him. Plus, he's young, just 21 years old, and tested extremely well athletically with a 9.85 RAS, relative athletic score, at guard, indicating he's explosive and fits perfectly in a scheme requiring quick linemen to reach the second level. If you ask me, Tua Tagovailoa has a solid chance to start right away for Miami, possibly slotting in at right guard between Brewer and Jackson. James Daniels would likely shift to left guard. This setup would surround rookie tackle Patrick Paul with veteran help, providing a sturdy foundation to protect Tua and give the running backs like Jalen Wright and Devon Achane room to operate. The Dolphins clearly prioritized getting more physical up front, and for the first time in years, it feels like the offensive line could finally turn from a weakness into a strength. But, and it's a big but, was it worth the heavy cost? Trading up stripped Miami of precious mid-round capital, and with no third-rounder available now, it leaves a gaping hole when it comes to addressing other critical needs like cornerback depth. Barring another trade, the Dolphins' next pick won't come until number 116 in the 4th round. It's clear the front office must have a plan to hit free agency again to patch up the secondary, otherwise, this strategy could backfire badly. One thing that's absolutely undeniable, though, is that this move signals the end of the Liam Eichenberg experiment. With Tagovailoa projected to start immediately, it means Eichenberg will only see the field in case of injury, and that alone is a huge victory for the offensive line. For too long, Miami's trenches have been held together with duct tape and prayers. Now, at least on paper, it feels like we've built something tougher, meaner, and finally competent. The bottom line is simple. Miami got better in the trenches with the selections of Kenneth Grant in round 1 and Jonah Savaiania in round 2. They bolstered the defensive line and upgraded the offensive line. It's hard to be mad about that part, but the aggressive trade and ignoring the glaring need at corner leave a lot of questions hanging over Chris Grier's head, questions that, if history teaches us anything, are likely to haunt this team if things don't break the right way. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think it was the right move to trade up for Jonah Savaiania, or should the Dolphins have stayed at pick 48 and taken a cornerback instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because the second part of this story is going to dive even deeper into the potential consequences and what the Dolphins must do next to stay on track. Let's keep it rolling, because this story is just getting hotter. As we dig deeper, the ripple effects of the Dolphins' decision to trade up for Jonah Savaiania start to paint a much bigger picture of the pressure mounting inside the organization, and trust me, it's not looking pretty for Chris Grier. Trading away a valuable third-round pick and a fourth to get Savaiania at 37 wasn't just about filling a hole on the offensive line. It was a desperate move by a front office trying to cling to relevance and save face after years of inconsistency and playoff collapses. Let's be real, if Grier had done his job correctly over the past few drafts, Miami wouldn't be in a situation where they have to panic trade valuable picks just to fix the trenches. We wouldn't have been forced to rely on disappointing projects like Liam Eichenberg. We wouldn't have watched past drafts slip through our fingers with whiffs on the offensive line year after year. It's exactly why fans are so fed up with Grier still holding the GM title when it's clear this team often wins in spite of his moves, not because of them. Now with no third-round pick and only one fourth-rounder left before a trio of fifth-rounders, the margin for error is razor-thin. Miami has almost no room left to maneuver in a draft that was supposed to be about fortifying depth and finding immediate contributors for a championship run. And the irony? They aggressively fixed the offensive line, yes, but left the cornerback room gasping for air. No, a late fourth or a fifth-round cornerback will not solve the secondary issues when you're looking to dethrone teams like Kansas City and Baltimore. It shows a front office operating with urgency, but not necessarily clarity. It reeks of short-term thinking rather than strategic long-term building. And that's dangerous, especially for a team with a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa, whose future with the Dolphins still hangs in the balance. You either go all in correctly or you crash and burn spectacularly. Right now, the Dolphins are walking a razor's edge between those two outcomes. So now, all eyes turn to free agency in the next rounds of the draft. Miami almost has to dip back into the veteran corner market, because without help, the current secondary could be an Achilles heel that costs this team dearly when it matters most. Maybe Miami will package their fifth-round picks to move up, but if they don't, we'll be depending on rookies picked after 115 overall to carry some heavy weight. And that's a risky bet when the stakes are this high. Now it's your turn, Dolphins fans. Are you still confident this roster can make a Super Bowl push after this trade? Or do you think Miami's short-sighted draft strategy will come back to bite us once again? Drop your thoughts below, and if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around. I've got another video coming up on the screen right now breaking down the Dolphins' full Day 2 draft performance. Go check it out, and as always, fins up!